disasters came crashing down from the mountains of Guizhou, China. What started as just another rainstorm quickly turned into something terrifying. Within hours, peaceful valleys became war zones of water. Towns like Rongjiang and Leishan were hit the hardest. Roads disappeared, homes were swallowed, and entire communities were torn apart. People didn't just lose property, they lost everything.
哥，机房子哥，这个是大房子，好不低啊！哎呦，这大房子哥，那两个哥，这个是这个大的。
The rain was relentless, pouring down as if the sky itself had broken. But it wasn't just nature at work. This disaster revealed deeper cracks, not just in the ground, but in the system meant to protect people. In Rongjiang, the water didn't creep in. It attacked. Like a wild beast let loose, it swept through streets, parking lots, shops, even schools.
妈呀，他们跌落的好奇。
家人们，我们龙江涨大水了，现在我们小区大队遭淹的全部是车啊，摩托车已经没见了。
There was no warning loud enough, no barrier strong enough. One moment, people were going about their daily lives. The next, they were running for their lives. Zhao Tangyuan was one of them. She had just parked her car when she felt the ground tremble. In seconds, a wave of water surged through the area.
在到水灾啊！
弄到点了，弄是呀，哦，上来，水上来，天胖啊，老胖啊，
雷山2桥，水位已经到这里了，今天是下雨第2天了，你看水位。
She managed to climb onto the roof of her vehicle and filmed what she thought might be her last moments. Her car was gone within minutes, but she survived. Others weren't as lucky. Online videos later showed the nightmare. Cars floating like toys, buildings collapsing, families stranded on rooftops, waving in desperation.
¿Quién conoce? ¿Quién está ahí? Joana. यतापट्टि चाहिँ हाम्रो सङ्गम दाइको होटल, यतापट्टि हाम्रो कुमार दाइको होटल, त्यो एपिएफको भवन त्यहाँ अगाडि देखिएको, यो चाहिँ हाम्रो तल्लो बसमा पानी परेको छ, जलस्तर घट्ने सम्भावना कम देखिएको छ। कोशी आजको कोशी
Some areas saw water levels rise so high that even fourth-floor apartments were underwater. Entire streets became rivers. Some vehicles still had people inside when they were dragged away by the current. One of the most heartbreaking stories came from a woman named Zhang Ping, who ran a small pharmacy in Rongjiang. Through tears and mud-covered hands, she described watching her life's work, the shop she'd built from scratch, get destroyed in front of her eyes.
कस्तो चाहिँ भयो कसरी बचाउँछ त अब न आफू अब केही गर्न सकिन्छ केही उपाय छैन समन्वय गर्दैकै हो प्रहरीहरू लागिरहेछन्
Everything is gone, she said. How do you come back from this? And it wasn't just nature's wrath at play. Many residents believe this disaster didn't have to be so deadly. Reservoirs upstream had released large amounts of water before the flood, raising rivers to dangerous levels. The authorities did send emergency notices, but for most people, the warnings came too late. There simply wasn't enough time. More than 400,000 people were forced to flee. Schools were turned into emergency shelters. Families camped on hillsides, watching helplessly as their homes and memories vanished below the waves. It felt like the earth itself had turned against them. Even the Rongjiang Village Super League football stadium, a symbol of local pride, was completely submerged. A place once full of cheers and hope now stood silent and lifeless, drowned under 7 meters of water. Only the tops of the goalposts could be seen poking above the flood.
Ay gitti. Ay araba gitti.
For the children who dreamed of playing there, and for the entire community, it was more than a loss of a stadium. It was a loss of spirit. Guizhou was once one of the poorest areas in China. But over the years, it had begun to thrive. Roads were built, tourism began to flourish, small businesses started to grow. There was hope. But one flood changed everything. And for many, it also shattered their trust in the system that was supposed to protect them. Voices of criticism grew louder. People asked, why weren't the reservoir releases managed more carefully? Why weren't flood barriers upgraded, even after past disasters? Why are the same mistakes repeated year after year? Experts have warned for years that climate change is making storms stronger and floods deadlier. But they've also pointed to something more alarming: overdevelopment, poor planning, and political negligence. Natural disasters may not be avoidable, but the destruction they cause, that's often made worse by human failure. Some government officials called this a rare black swan event, a disaster that no one could predict. But for the people who live there, it didn't feel rare at all. It felt like history repeating itself. And this time, The consequences were catastrophic. In the aftermath, the damage is more than just physical. Entire towns are buried in mud. Power lines are down. Clean water is scarce. Communication is difficult. For many, their homes are unlivable. Children don't know when or if they'll return to school. And for the families who lost loved ones, no aid can bring them back. But even as the water drains and the mud dries, something far more dangerous remains: doubt. Doubt in leadership, doubt in infrastructure, and doubt in whether anything will ever change. Weeks after the flood, villages that once buzzed with life now echo with nothing but the sound of crows and the occasional hum of a rescue drone overhead. The once bustling streets of Leishan have turned into muddy alleyways of silence. Electricity comes and goes. Clean drinking water has become a luxury. In some neighborhoods, families take turns guarding what little remains of their belongings, fearing looters more than the next storm. In temporary shelters set up inside school gymnasiums, hundreds sleep side by side on thin mats. Mothers try to comfort crying children with lullabies, while elders sit quietly, staring into space, silent witnesses to another chapter of sorrow. Volunteers from nearby provinces have poured in, handing out food, blankets, and basic medical supplies. Yet no donation can replace the wedding album swept away in the current, or the handwritten letters lost in the silt. The pain here isn't just about survival. It's about identity, dignity, and memory. And amidst the devastation, questions linger like smoke from a fire that refuses to die. Why was the early warning system so inadequate? Why were local dams releasing water just hours before the worst of the storm hit? Survivors whisper that this wasn't just misfortune, it was mismanagement. A retired engineer from Guangdong came forward anonymously, saying that maintenance checks on smaller reservoir gates had been delayed for years. "We've known the risk," he said, but no one wanted to spend the money unless there was already a tragedy. Local journalists tried to ask these questions too, but some said their articles were quickly removed or edited. A few social media posts were taken down. "Don't spread panic," was the official reasoning. But for those living through it, silence feels like betrayal. Yet the people of Rongjiang are not giving up. Villagers have started cleaning up their shattered homes with their bare hands. Young volunteers organize donation drives through live streams. One teacher turned the wreckage of his classroom into a community center, where displaced children can gather and draw to try to make sense of the chaos. But rebuilding takes more than bricks. It takes trust, and that's something money can't buy. In the Guizhou countryside, floodwaters have left behind not just scars, but warnings, etched into the soil, carved into the walls of every home that stood half submerged. Scientists have already predicted that rainfall in southern China is likely to increase in intensity due to climate change. Yet budgets for flood control often remain stuck in the past. "Every year we rebuild. Every year it happens again," said one shop owner who lost everything in Leishan. But no one listens until it's too late. Even the Rongjiang Village Super League Stadium, a place meant for celebration and unity, is now a haunting reminder of what was lost. When the waters swallowed the pitch, it also drowned a generation's dreams. The children still visit the gate sometimes, peeking through the fences to where the grass used to be. Some still wear their team jerseys, now stained with mud. Officials have promised investigations, but promises don't bring back homes. Promises don't raise the dead. And so the people of Guizhou wait, not just for support, but for accountability. They wait for someone to stand up and say, "We failed you, and we will fix it." Until that happens, the wounds will stay open. In the end, this flood wasn't just a test of nature's fury. It was a test of humanity's response. And for many in Guizhou, the verdict is still out.